and I still messed it up. I just realized as I went to do my little intro that I didn't press the record button. It's the simple things in life. It's the simple things, right? When you mess it up, you're just like, God damn it. Why did I do that shit? I'm sitting here counting down. I'm watching the volume meter as far as the intro music wind down. I'm like, all right, I'm going to time it perfectly as soon as the song ends because I'm not listening to it. I'm just sitting here and watching the volume meter. I'm like, all right, as soon as it gets lower, I know the song is over with. Of course, I know the song is over with because, damn it, I created the song, so I know it's over with. Or the music, rather, the instrumental. I'm like, I know it's coming to an end. All right, I timed it perfectly and then forgot to press the record button. Hey, but every day is a new day to be better. So tomorrow, hopefully, I get it right and time it perfectly. And then it'll become muscle memory and I'll never think about it again. So, today's topics, as you can see in the title, winter storm in the United States, also parts of the world too. I think Germany had a big issue too. And then go into some climate change stuff. So if you're new to the podcast, uh, if you've seen some of the other titles of the podcast, you heard it. Yeah, it's not finna go the way you think it's about to go. I'm about to say some shit that is, not agreed upon in the scientific community. Even though the scientific community never agrees on anything, that's the whole purpose of scientific studies. I mean, they're all just spewing out so-called facts, but it's really theoretical. As they make up shit as they go through their paid studies, you know, because scientists are paid off just like everyone else is paid off. But we're gonna dive into some of this, and like I said yesterday, I'm gonna try to keep it short because the kids are home, but I managed not to do that. And it was funny because the second I got done with recording, I kind of look up, out the corner of my eye, and I see my daughter just sticking her head out behind the wall trying to poke. And I'm like, I'm done. She's like, oh my God, thank you. I'm starving. I'm like, oh, whatever. Exaggeration. My son actually was like smart enough to get up this morning, like, hey, let me get up and get some to eat before I can't. And meanwhile, my daughter's still asleep. So I don't know what she's going to do. She'll figure it out. But let's go ahead and get into today's topics and talk about not being prepared. Blank screen, blank screen, blank screen. Because preparation is key, and I failed on that today. So here we go. We got an article here from ABC Action News. It says historic winter storm. More than 150 million Americans currently under a winter weather advisory. 150 million Americans. Remember yesterday we talked about the stimulus checks going out to 22.6 million Americans, $1,400, and that will help out, or excuse me, that the $1,400 stimulus checks will help out those 22.6 million Americans. Meanwhile, you have 150 million Americans, half, almost half, roughly, almost half of the American population is under a winter wonderland storm. Like, this is insane. This is over. I don't know if this is in Texas, but I've seen some things over in Texas as well, throughout that middle part of the country. And also Germany, I believe, is going through things, because it's wintertime in the northern hemisphere, I believe. So I could be wrong, but kind of looks like that. It says a huge swath of the country is bracing for a historic winter storm on Monday. And yeah, so this article is from yesterday. Whatever. I don't know why I say Monday. Whatever. Anyways, as an enormous weather system will bring heavy snowfall and freezing rain from the southern plains to New England. According to the National Weather Service, more than 150 million people across the country, a number that represents half the U.S. population, are currently under winter weather advisories, most of which will remain in effect well into Tuesday. Meanwhile, I'm fucking burning up here in Florida. It's like 80 degrees outside. My AC is on. Oh man, it pays to be closer to the equator. I'm sorry. Let's see. It says cities from Texas to Maine are currently prepping for what could be historic snowfall totals, according to the National Weather Service. Anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow could fall on most of the eastern U.S. in the coming hours. It says the storm has already brought snow and ice to Texas, where the Associated press reports that officials are dealing with quote unquote rotating power outages. And I think I seen something, I think it was on Disclosed TV on their Twitter page, also probably on their Gab page as well, that the power outages were even reaching as far as Louisiana, which that's gotta suck. That's gotta suck for real. Yeah, rotating power outages that are affecting more than 2 million homes and businesses. Officials in the state are asking residents to try and conserve power for the time being. Try and conserve power. Try and conserve power. Because what I really want to talk about is natural resources, oil, petroleum. Those things that they said, oh, let's not use those things anymore. We need to use renewable energy resources. What happens when those renewable energy resources, like, I don't know, the wind turbines and stuff, freezes? Or the solar panels don't work because it's fucking winter and they're covered in snow. That's what's going on in Germany and also more in the Midwest as well in America, as far as the turbines being frozen and stuff like that, the wind turbines. So what happens with all that? We go into where we talk about climate change, and you might think of it as, well, yeah, the planet is getting hot, so we got to, the planet is fighting back because all the CO2 carbon emissions being given off to the world by human beings. So you know what? Now the world is fighting back and cooling off the planet. But it's wintertime. So, you know, this is what happens during the wintertime. Snowstorms. Interesting, right? But when you talk about human beings being, I don't know, the cause of it all, as far as CO2 emissions, your greenhouse gas effects, there's only about 8 billion of us on this planet. I don't think people realize how big the planet is. Pay attention the next time you ever travel, or as far as air, sea, plane, especially in the plane. Look down. Look out your window. Get a window seat if you can. It's probably why it's expensive anyways, or it costs more for a window seat. Yeah, hopefully you're not afraid of heights, but if you are and you're on a plane, well, you already conquered that fear, so congrats to you. But sit next to the window and look down, and you'll see a bunch of nothing. Land, mountains, water. You won't see cities. You'll see how far and stretched. There's not much going on in the country as far as the United States of America. And I've flown from Texas to Alaska to Kyrgyzstan, and there's a lot of nothing down there, man. It's just, you see nothing. I've flown over the Pacific Ocean. I've flown over the Atlantic Ocean. There's a lot of land and a lot of water. The planet Earth is 70% water. It's a lot of nothing, man. I understand that. And then even that 7% of water goes deep, deep, deep down to the ocean floor, and some of those ocean floor even goes deeper down into little canals, like your Marianas Trench. Like, we are insignificant. So much so, I want to show you guys this. Oh, of course, where's the video at? Okay, here it is. I want to show you guys as far as the human population and kind of how much we encompass the entire planet.
As of March 2016, the number of humans alive in the world is at 7.4 billion people. But what if every single last one of us, everybody watching this video, including you, all lived together in the same city? How big or small would this city look like, and how close together would we all have to live? Let's pause and think for a moment about where we all currently live. 60% of us live in Asia, while 16% live in Africa, 10% in Europe, 8% in North America, 5.5% in South America, just 0.5% in Australia and Oceania, and too little people to even register on the scale in Antarctica. So first off, we would have to agree on which continent or island we would migrate everybody in the world to. 50.5% of everybody in the world currently lives in a city, so we would have to convince the other 40.
So 50.5% lives in the city. Half the population lives in the city, and majority of cities are where located next to the water, sea, rivers, lakes. Obviously, your coastal areas, as far as being next to Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, things of that nature.
9.5% of people to come and join us. So now, assuming that we have gathered everybody together in the same place to create our city, let's look at some real-life examples to see what living so close together might actually look like. Singapore is the most densely populated country in the world right now. 5,399,000 people live in the small country of just 710 square kilometers. That means that for every square kilometer in size within the country, there are 7,605 people living out their lives on average. But Singapore is a country the size of a city, and there are much more densely populated cities than that already in the world. For reference, downtown Manhattan in New York City has a population density of 26,939 people every square kilometer. That's a lot of people very close together, but we're just scratching the surface. The densest city in the world right now is Manila in the Philippines, where you will find 41,515 people every square kilometer, but Manila's total population is relatively low, at just 1,780,000 people. The density of people is just so high because they all live together in such a small space. The biggest concentration of people in one place anywhere in the world can be found here in Japan, the Tokyo metro area, home to 36,923,000 people. To put into perspective just how enormous Tokyo is, I'm going to show you two examples to illustrate the point. First, this is an image of the United Kingdom with the area of the Greater London Metro highlighted in red. And if you think that looks big, this is the Greater Tokyo Metro area highlighted in blue. It's truly gargantuan, but on
Things, law of correspondence. Things only make sense when you put in context, when you put it in relative terms. City of London is not that big. New York City is not that big. Just because a lot of people are there, it might seem like it's big, but it's not. We're talking about a landmass size area, or your square kilometers, or wherever the, I guess, system you're using. I don't know why U.S. system is so messed up as far as measurements. Actually, I'm pretty sure there is a reason for it, but we don't really talk about how much human beings actually take up space on the planet. We take up a small amount of space of the planet.
the second example. This is an image taken of downtown Tokyo, but if we zoomed out further to here, then the exact location of downtown grows much harder to find. Let's trade out this photo for a new one, which shows the true size of Tokyo as seen from the sky. In this one photo that you're looking at lives nearly the same population as all of Australia, New Zealand, and Oceania combined, or about 0.5% of everybody in the world, all in one city. But we still have the other 95.5% of the human population to think about, and we can still fit people into a much smaller space. Right now in 2016, the highest concentration of people living in a smaller place than a city is probably within the city of Mumbai, India. Located within the city is a slum called Dharavi, which is an area just 2.17 square kilometers in size. If we think about that size and compare it to Central Park in New York City, the Dharavi slum would only take up 64% of the same size, or not even 2/3 of the area. And living in that cramped, tiny space are anywhere between 700,000 to 1 million people. Averaging out those numbers, we get 391,705 people every square kilometer. Now,
for those of you obviously on the audio version, you can always go to YouTube or my Odyssey channel to watch the video replay of the live stream. But don't get lost in the numbers. That's really what I really want to say. Don't get lost in numbers. Just understand that you could take millions of people and put them into a small area, and that's how much of the human population doesn't really utilize the planet as far as land mass and stuff like that. Like, and let's be honest, could we, I don't know, build some structures to live out in the ocean as well? Oh, no. Then we'll be talking about ancient civilizations, like, I don't know, the Atlanteans, or maybe the Lemurians. Those people that probably came before us, before the Ice Age. In the Bible, in the Old Testament, when it says the great flood with Noah, I think the great flood happened. Sounds like the ice melted. End of the Ice Age, washed everybody out. No. I'm just throwing out things, though.
this number here is the highest number of people in the world today that live in a square kilometer. As recently as the 1980s, however, there was a place that was somehow even more frighteningly claustrophobic. The most densely populated place known in history was the Kowloon Walled City, which was located here in Hong Kong. To get some kind of idea of what we're going to be talking about, this image is an aerial view of the city from 1987. You can kind of get some scale of it by looking at the basketball courts over here on the right or the trucks over here on the left, but the overall total area of these buildings is just 0.26 square kilometers.
A lot of
Another way
people.
to possibly imagine how tiny that really is this way. Here are 3 American football fields side by side. The Kowloon Walled City would be just a little bigger than them put together. And 33,000 people were living in that tiny space, meaning that if we stretched that out to a full square kilometer, the population density would be 1.2 million people.
Yeah.
Living that close together would look something like this image, and this number is the absolute limit that we've ever seen in the real world of how many people can live together in such a small area. So now let's visualize how big our hypothetical global city would have to be according to the different population densities that we have been discussing. First, let's imagine something a little comfortable. Let's take the city of New Orleans in Louisiana, whose population density is about 784 people per square kilometer. On that scale, our global city would be about the same size as roughly the continental United States. If we moved on to the density of, say, Austin, Texas, we would be looking at a city that is about the size of Australia with room left to spare. But we want to get even smaller than that, so we're going to try fitting everybody into the same density as Chicago next. On that scale, our city would be about the same size as Iran, but let's get even smaller. At the density of Singapore, we could fit the entire human race into just the states of Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, all
So the entire human race with the density population of Singapore, and in Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, right next to the water, Gulf of Mexico. That's how insignificant we are. It hurts the ego, right? So when we go into talking more about climate change, I just want to put that in your head to let you know that, like, this is how I saw it. Obviously, when I explain this thing, I'm just reiterating how I saw it or how I thought about it in my head, because this is why I came to the rationalization of some of these issues or some of these topics that the world talks about, that's on everyone's mind. Because when you talk about climate change and human beings affecting the climate and the atmosphere, my first thought was, it's not that many of us to really have any significant impact. I mean, of course, don't get me wrong, I recycle. Like, I don't want to pollute the earth, the water. I don't want to pollute the atmosphere, none of those things, because that goes without question. You know, you don't fuck up where you live at. Like that goes without question. You take care of where you live. So obviously, I don't want to destroy where I live, and we shouldn't try, or at least not say destroy. We don't want to do things that would have a negative impact, even if it's incredibly insignificant. It's still, you don't want to do that to the place where you call home. You don't want to do that to Mother Earth. You don't want to do that to Gaia. You don't want to do that. I don't go in my own house and fuck up shit. I mean, that's me personally. I don't know what you do in your house, but that's how I, live in my house. Like, me and my kids, like, hey, fill the trash, clean up this place. This is where you live. Have some organization, have some respect, and some consideration for where you live. Because if you treat where you live at good, then that means you'll treat yourself good and others around you good as well. Harmony, crazy concept. Yet again, a lot of crazy concepts, but I get it. So, to me, when we talk about climate change, part of the human ego is that we think we have that much of an impact when the population of human beings can fit in Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana and have the same density population as Singapore, the country. Just think about that for a little bit, because it's kind of like, wait a minute. So we don't really take up much space on planet Earth. No, we don't. And guess what? I'm only talking about the surface level of planet Earth. I'm not even getting into hollow Earth theory. I'm not even getting into all the underground canals and stuff that we're at the top level surface. I'm not even getting into how deep the Earth goes into the Earth's crust and the mantle and how far down it goes. That's even crazier. So think about in terms of, we always think of up, everybody looks up to the sky, but you're actually not looking up to the sky. You're looking outward to the sky. The up direction is only relative in the sense of your eyes are going up. Up from where? Up above your body. That's it. Your eyes go down, down the bottom of your body. So you are using yourself as a reference point, law of correspondence, in order to navigate the world around you. But in all actuality, you're looking outward when you look up at the sky. Seems confusing, right? But it's really not. Because if you put yourself living on the surface of planet Earth, then that means you have to go outward to escape planet Earth, not up. But see, when we use certain words, it kind of changes our mindset of what we're talking about, what we're thinking about. Because as you look, if you want to say you look up to the sky, then that means, oh, well, we're not that far from it, the atmosphere and stuff like that. And it makes it feel like, hey, we take up a little bit more space. But if I tell you that we're living in Earth, not necessarily inside the inner core closer to the Earth, but more on the outer level, surface level of the Earth, and that we're going outwards, well, it kind of changes your perspective. Almost like you're thinking. Crazy, right?
Already considerably smaller than at the New Orleans density. But we're going to keep on getting even smaller. At the density of Manhattan, we would be looking at a city about the size of Ecuador here in South America, and if we had a city with the same density we see in Manila, then everybody in the world would fit inside the US state of Missouri. But to get even more frightening and claustrophobic, our global city with the same density seen within the Dharavi slum in Mumbai would be about the same size of New Jersey. And finally, at about the absolute real-world limit, if we built our global city with the same population density as Kowloon Walled City, we would fit every single person in the world into an area about the same size as Palestine, which itself is only about half the size of the Tokyo metro area. Let's put all of these different sizes in a row to get possibly the best visualization. First, we have a city with the same density of New Orleans, followed by Austin, Chicago, Singapore.
So for those on the audio version of the podcast, so New Orleans, with the density population of New Orleans, all of humanity will be able to fit in the continental United States. With the density population of Austin, Texas, then all of humanity, all the human species will be able to live with the density population of Austin, Texas, in Australia. And that's basically what it's breaking down. So have I been to Austin, Texas? Oh shit, I have been to Austin, Texas. I just now realized that. I just forgot all about that. I don't even know when that was. Whatever. But okay, like I said, I've recently been to New Orleans. I even did a podcast episode about it. Check that out. So I've been in New Orleans, so it's not really that crowded. Kind of spaced out. So it's not too bad. It kind of reminds me of almost really like a Tampa in a sense, or maybe Orlando. So the density population of New Orleans, living in the continental United States, all humanity, that's a pretty comfortable area. And then you have all the resources because you're surrounded by water on two sides, really more than two sides because you want to count the Gulf of Mexico and stuff. You have all your resources right there. You're pretty decent, although top half of the country, will be dealing with winter snowstorms and stuff like that. But hey, you're in Florida, you're fine.
Or Manhattan, Manila, the Dharavi slum, and finally the Kowloon Walled City. Whichever way you look at it, living together in the same city would be both bizarre and leave an enormous amount of empty space left in the world. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video.
So that's the end of the video. So, like I said, when we talk about climate change and stuff, we don't really put into perspective and context what the fuck we're talking about. It's always doom and gloom. Like I said, when I was a kid, I was born in the 80s, so in the 90s, when I was a kid, I remember learning in school that, hey, the world is getting hotter. It's global warming. And then all of a sudden, as an adult, it started to change to climate change. Remember what I talked about half truths. You can still lie, But the best lies have half the truth in the lie that which you're telling. So it's misleading, but it's actually not misleading because it's on you. If you don't use your brain to think by yourself and independently and on your own, then, well, that's your fucking fault. You won't figure it out. And, granted, there's scientists all around the world telling you these different things, stuff, but do you know these people? Do you know me? So why are you not using your brain to figure these things out? And so when we talk about climate change and we talk about history and all this different stuff, as far as they always say, oh, it's the biggest, it's the hottest temperature on recorded history, or this is unprecedented. This never happened before in the history of humanity and all that other stuff. They're not even going back that far as recorded history. I think thermostats or thermometers were invented around the 1600s. So what are they talking about? So right here we have an article from not even an article. It's information from weather.gov. So once again, I'm using the government's own information against them because they think we're all stupid that no one reads this shit and we can't, I don't know, figure it out for ourselves. So it says the history of the National Weather Service, and this is obviously United States of America. It says the National Weather Service has its beginning in the early history of the United States. Weather always has been important to the citizenry of this country, and this was especially during the 17th and 18th centuries. Weather was also important to many of the founding fathers. And it goes on to talk about blah, blah. So it says in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on July 4th, 1776, 76 degrees. Jefferson made a regular observation at Monticello from 1772 to 1778 and participated in taking the first known simultaneous weather observations in America. First known simultaneous weather observations in America. During the early and mid 1800s, weather observation networks began to grow and expand across the United States. Although most basic meteorological instruments had existed for over 100 years, it was the telegraph that was largely responsible for the advancement of operational meteorology during the 19th century. With the advent of the telegraph, weather observations from distant points could be rapidly collected. So I read all that just to let you know the history of, in essence, collecting data and recording it and writing it down. So when they talk about, oh, we're going through this, we're going through that, well, you haven't actually really been recording these things down, especially in American history. America hasn't been around that long. So what are they talking about? So here he has a little table and stuff of different time events, 1800 to 1899. It says 1849, Smithsonian Institute supplies weather instruments to telegraph companies and establishes extensive observation network. Observations submitted by telegraph to the Smithsonian, where weather maps are created. Oh, wow. So the Smithsonian is creating weather maps. So they're keeping the records. Interesting, right? And all these different things have been going on since the 1800s. But yet they want to talk about global warming and other things like that. And then you have here climate.gov. Well, it says the history of Earth's surface temperature 1880 to 2016. So they're telling you the planet, first in the 70s, they're telling you the planet is cooling. And that was a big thing. And then they switched to the planet is warming. And that was a big thing. And now it's climate change. Well, guess what? Whether the planet is cooling or whether the planet is warming, that means it's climate change regardless. Oh, wow. So half truths. The climate is changing regardless. Regardless of what the fuck you do and what the fuck I do. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I make sure I try to recycle if recycling even works, because who knows whether they actually recycle the shit. You don't know what they do with it. Let's be honest. Do you actually know what they do with it? Are they going to tell us what they do with it? I mean, because it all depends on your local area and stuff, what they actually do with the recycling things. As far as we know, they throw all the shit together in the garbage. I mean, you have to do your own research. That's something I had to do too. I think I tried to one day, and I think I hit a dead end. I was just like, ah, fuck this. I'll just come back and try another time. But it's a little excerpt on the right. It says this animation shows annual temperatures each year since 1880 compared to the 20th century average, ending with record warm in 2016. See how they said ending with record warm because it's a record. Well, yeah, but you don't put into context when they talk about it in your news media outlet stuff. Oh yeah, it's the hottest point. It's the hottest day on recorded history. Well, going back a couple hundred, not even a couple. Well, yeah, just a couple hundred years. Oh man, that's crazy. That's crazy, right? We're not even going that far back. So the planet's been around for I don't know what billions of years. Human species, Homo sapiens been around for what a few 100,000 years, if that. And your Homo sapiens, your Homo erectus, and all those other things, Neanderthals, that goes back a few million years. Interesting, right? Makes you wonder. Because if humans were able to survive all this long time through your global cooling and your global warming, then it seems to be okay. Oh, but that's right, because we haven't been emitting CO2, extra CO2 carbon emissions into the atmosphere. But now that there's many of us, even though half of us live in a city, half of us live in a rural area, so even the whole human population is not actually contributing to the CO2 emissions. The whole human population that can fit in the density of New Orleans, Louisiana, inside the entire continental United States. Stuff like that. Just as easy. It's interesting, right? And this is saying 2016 was officially. Actually, I forgot. I didn't even finish reading this on the right here. It says because of global warming due to increasing. I laugh because it's like, how can you sit here and say that? You're telling me 1880 to 2016, and then you say because of global warming due to increasing greenhouse gases. You can't make that statement. You can't make that claim if you're not using all of recorded Earth history. You can't make that actual statement. You can only use it as a theory, something that you would have to record for thousands of years to even come close to just going off of that theory. It says the maps from the early years in animation are dominated by shades of blue, indicating temperatures were up to 3 degrees Celsius, 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the 20th century average. Recent year maps are dominated of blah blah. So it's talking about the video animation, and I don't even want to play that. It says 2016 is officially the warmest year on record. 2016 is officially the warmest year on record. That alone, they should put into context because they have it all over the place saying that history of Earth's surface temperature 1880 and stuff like that. But at the same time, you shouldn't even write that statement without saying, but we only been recording it since then. And it says 2016 is officially the newest of the new warmest year on record, edging out previous record holder 2015 by 0.07 degrees Fahrenheit, according to the NOAA, which is what the National. Man, great. My mind went blank on it. I cannot think of what the acronym stands for. National Oceanic something agency. I forget. It is the third year in a row that global average surface temperature set a new record, and the fifth time the record has been broken since the start of the 21st century. See, that sounds bad, right? That sounds bad, but without context, what does it actually mean? Because without context, that allows you to think for yourself. If you just take this first paragraph on this page for what it's worth, then you'll be like, oh shit, man, it's getting hot as fuck. We're all about to be on a living fucking hell, right? That's what you're thinking. Like, man, we're all about to literally be burning in hell. Hell on earth. But then the next paragraph says the animation shows annual temperatures since 1880 compared. But why is it not saying, hey, this is when we actually started? So anything prior to that, we don't actually know. And as far as North America, and I believe some of the stuff in the I want to say some of the in the 16th, 17th, maybe 15th century too, they were kind of keeping charts of that. As far as I want to go say the British Empire, I think they was keeping track of that. But that stuff like that just makes me laugh because it's like, can you actually say global warming is an issue or is it climate change? And I want to show you guys a couple of videos. And it says, whatever happened to global cooling? And I had already watched some of it.
In 5 seconds, you can skip this ad. What you can't skip.
Oh, wow. That's great. Come on, man. Don't freeze up on me. There we go. Nope. Nope.
Hundreds of leaders and climate change experts are descending on.
Man, the whole thing is just freezing up on me. Of course it is, because why would it not? Let's see. Let me do a few things right to close out these tabs. I like how it's climate change and they put Wikipedia. Remember, I think I mentioned this plenty of times before, but I still find it funny that when you're in school, they tell you don't use Wikipedia as a source yet. Google, or Alphabet Inc. rather, says, nah, fuck it. Put up a Wikipedia page for them. Put up a Wikipedia page as a preference, or excuse me, as a reference to let people know what we're talking about and what we're dealing with here. But yeah, in school, you're told, don't use Wikipedia. This shit is hilarious, man. All right, let's see. It should be good now. And it's not. We're just
Message. It's time to stop talking and make a deal. But reaching that deal has now been complicated by what's being called ClimateGate, a string of hacked private emails. Scientists in the U.S. and Europe, which have cast doubts on the very science this.
Oh man, I'm gonna try to refresh the page because I don't know why. It's sad. It just keeps skipping and stuff.
Hundreds of world leaders and climate change experts.
This is killing me. This is really just like messing up. And there's nothing going on my computer. I don't know why I find this hilarious. Clearly it's messing up my show, but it just makes me laugh that I can't watch the video, man. And there's no reason for it. And my internet connection is not messed up. There's nothing going on. And I'm looking at OBS and it says, oh, the stream is good. Oh man, you try to do one little thing and then it's like, oh, no, yeah, it's not gonna work today, guy. We're just not gonna let it happen. And then, actually, this ain't even the video I wanted to watch anyways. Let me backtrack. It's not, it is one of the videos, but I didn't want to watch it first. And wow, I'm getting so aggravated right now.
On MyHeritage, you can build your family tree and make amazing discoveries.
I'm getting so aggravated. I pressed the back button and it went to a whole different video that I didn't even click on yet. But basically what some of these videos are talking about is breaking down the history of how in the 70s it was talking about what happened to global cooling. It's crazy because that's what I clicked on, but that's not what showed up. All right, let's try this shit again.
Is clear. Greenhouse.
Sponsored by Brilliant.org.
Right.
It's the 1970s. Star Wars has just come out. Disco is cool. And scientists are saying that we might all freeze to death due to global cooling. That's right. Before the current focus by scientists in the media on global warming, they used to be more worried about the potential of the Earth entering a new ice age. Two scientists, George Cutler and Robert Matthews, even went so far as to write a letter to President Nixon warning him that we may be about to see unprecedented cooling, human-induced change to the world's climate. Sound familiar? So why did scientists change their minds so spectacularly? What made them...
Pay attention, because this is clearly a propaganda thing, right? And this is that guy named Simon Clark. This is his YouTube page. So, but I'll definitely put all the links in the description when I upload this on YouTube and Odyssey. But it's funny because it's clearly propaganda. but it's mixed in with half truths. He just sat there and said, "Oh, kind of crazy, right? How they thought human beings was the reason for climate cooling, but oh, don't worry, they got it wrong." It's always, "Oh no, you know what? They got it wrong," or "You know what? We made a mistake." But you told me to trust the science and pay attention to the scientists, but clearly they make mistakes and they get shit wrong. So why am I putting my faith in y'all at all?
Flip from global cooling to global warming. Whatever happened to global cooling? The thing about the 1970s is that, as well as being desperately uncool, it was when climate research began to really mature into a modern research field. The Earth's climate has been studied academically arguably since the 11th century in China, and mathematically since the work of Joseph Fourier in the 18th century when he discovered the greenhouse effect. But in the early 20th century, things notably gathered pace as more and more physical principles of how the atmosphere, the ocean, and the sun interact were understood through more and more studies. And by the 1970s, more and more data was becoming available. In particular, the first
And see how he's talking about more and more data is coming available? But yeah, because you get an improvement in technology within this modern version of human history, where we're trying to use our technology and our instruments to record more data. But at the same time, you're ignoring all the previous parts of human history. Like I said before, you really think this is the first time we ever had machines, flying apparatus and stuff like that, batteries, electronics? Do you actually think this is the first time? Because all this that we're talking about is on the premise that we're the most technologically advanced species ever. Does that even sound remotely like it makes sense? If you want to talk about aliens, you know what? No, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna talk about aliens. You have to honestly believe that right now in human history, we are so technologically more advanced than we ever been ever in human history. Or is it just this version of human history, this part of human history? Because if you believe in the Bible, if you want to follow those stories of ancient religious texts, then it talks about a great flood. So what happened before the great flood? Were they just advanced? Were they not, I don't know, even more advanced? And had even more incredible technology and understood the earth and the universe, the solar system, the stars, everything more than what we do right now. Human beings are egotistical. We're an egotistical species. I talked about before how we're part of the hominid group, and we, destroyed off all the other hominids and stuff like that, and we're the last surviving ones. And so, of course, we got an ego. We're like, oh, look at us. Look at how great we are. We're so amazing. You go back to your tablet or your Tower of Babel in the Old Testament of the Bible. What happened when humans felt they were so awesome and stuff? They built the tower up to the sky, and then God struck them down. Remember, I told you I'm not religious, but that doesn't mean I don't like history. It's these little things right here that they clearly think that we forget. So they're always constantly trying to re-educate us. So when I do this podcast, all I'm doing is just talking to y'all like we're in my room. We're in my house, chilling. They're like, hey, man, do you ever think about it this way? And I'm just breaking down how I thought about this thing. And I'm telling you my thought process. That's all this is. The same thing that you do all the time. We all do it. So as they sit here in this video and say, oh, well, this and that, my first thing is, well, what about thousands and thousands and thousands of years before? What about then? What about that? Oh, because on the Mayan temple wall or an Egyptian wall, when you see someone that looks like, I don't know, they're in a spaceship with a helmet on. Oh, wow. Don't worry. Your Nazca lines in Peru. I mean, who puts lines on the ground that no one can see if they are just on the ground? You only put lines on the ground if you can see them from above. But don't worry. These are all, I don't even know what they're called. It's not even called conspiracies. These are unknown parts of history that mainstream media, mainstream historians and archaeologists won't talk about. Because it's not about actual knowledge. It's not about actual educating the people. It's about dumbing you down and making you accept everything that they spew out to us. It's all your fault. Guess what? Because you want to drive your fancy sports car in America. You want to have your little Mustang. Now look at you. You're polluting the fucking earth. Like when you fart, doesn't put methane out into the atmosphere.
Instructions of the Earth's global average temperature and the first continuous measurements of carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere. That data was being studied by lots of different groups of scientists, and they didn't all agree on what they found.
Oh my God, you mean scientists don't agree? Because isn't that the whole point of the scientific community? To debate, to debate, to debate? No. I thought all scientists agree on everything.
Science isn't a single...
So even as he says that, all scientists doesn't agree, he's talking about what happened in the 70s when they thought the planet was cooling down. Well, then how can that not be applied now? How do I know that all scientists are not agreeing right now? Because it only makes sense. How come we only hear one version of a story, or one version of a narrative, or one part of the scientific theory? That kind of always gets me. If everyone is saying one thing, my first thought is that doesn't sound right, because it should be kind of almost evenly distributed as far as the whole population or majority of a population or a country, a nation, whatever. Not everybody's gonna think the same, so at least half should think one way and the other half should think the other way. It should be some type of almost evenly distribution amongst two sides of your spectrum when it comes to a certain ideology. Remember polarity, one side, the other side, and then universal law rhythm, you're swinging from one end to the other. And so everyone should be jumping around, and only through all that confusion and all that thinking and all that debating do we come to an even greater perspective, because it takes all those different perspectives to figure it out. So when you hear people talk about climate change naysayers or conspiracy theorists or deniers, no, you need those people. You need someone like me saying, hey, I don't trust what you're talking about. Let's keep working on this. That's all I'm saying is like, hey, what you're talking about doesn't kind of make sense. So can we just keep working on this instead of saying, oh no, we're all going to die in 20 years. Or don't worry, the planet is going to freeze. Or the planet is going to get super hot. Or all the stuff that they're saying. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Can we just really talk about this? Why are you shutting out one side of the conversation? And when that happens, to me, I can tell that now you're pushing a certain narrative. And then if you're pushing a certain narrative, now everything that I hear and see is propaganda, because you put out a movie like Day After Tomorrow showing how the world is freezing. You got, I think, is it Greenland? I think it's a movie that came out last year. And I think they used my area, Central Florida, in the movie. I was like, oh, wow. But no, I think that's about meteorites or something. I can't remember. But you see all these kind of environmental movies where we're going to be super hot, or a greenhouse gas effect is going to mess us up the planet, or we're going to freeze over or something. It's always this doom and gloom stuff. Every time you turn around, doom and gloom. The world is burning. The world is freezing. Man, it's like, hey, can you make up your minds? Can I set my watch to what you're saying? Can I set my life to what you're saying? Is the world going to end on Tuesday, the 18th of December in 2050? Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you? Does that fit your science? Does that fit your data? Because you're saying all these things. I just want to know exactly when the world's going to end. Because can I hop on a plane, or a spaceship rather? Can I hop on a spaceship with Elon Musk and go to Mars? Or do I have to go catch a shit with Jeff Bezos and Blue Origins? I'm just trying to figure out what I need to do. That's all. Can I get all the information? No, they have to tell you this. Oh, you got to do this. Oh, don't worry, the world is going to blow up. Well, can I get everything? Can I get the other side of the argument? Why won't you give me the other side of the argument? Why do you automatically deny the other side of the argument? Almost like communism.
There are loads of subfields that make it up. It's the same with most scientific disciplines. So imagine if Simon and I weren't atmospheric physicists, but instead were rocket scientists. Now, firstly, wouldn't that be awesome? But secondly, even if Simon and I were working on and understood the same rocket, he might be focused on liftoff and I might be researching steering. Well, there are plenty of aspects of the climate that researchers figure out too. There's observing the climate, whether that's what's happening today or digging into what happened many thousands of years ago. You've got Milankovitch cycles, which is the influence that the Earth's orbit has on its climate. Then you've got things like aerosol science, investigating these tiny particles and which ones heat and which ones cool the planet, as well as the influence that they have on clouds. And then of course we've got the side of climate science that we hear the most about: greenhouse gases. Gases like carbon dioxide and methane absorb the...
Notice how the greenhouse gases, methane, like I just said, when you fucking fart, you farting is contributing to the greenhouse gas effect. Never forget that. Oh man. It's I can't help but laugh, man. I do this shit all the time. I just can't help but laugh. Because these people, man. These people.
Longer wavelength light that is emitted by Earth. These are just some of the many, many sides of climate science that researchers study, and I feel like I'm probably pissing off some of my friends by forgetting to mention their specific subdiscipline. If you want a rocket that can both lift off and avoid crashing into the moon, then you need lots of different rocket scientists. And if you want to understand the climate properly, then you need lots of different subfields. Together, all these things tell us how the climate will respond when the Earth goes through changes. Say the sun gets brighter and hotter, how will the Earth's climate change then? Or say humans emit loads of greenhouse gases and aerosols into the atmosphere, what happens then?
Humans.
In the 1970s, these research fields were worked on mostly in isolation from one another.
When we talk about humans, we're only talking about the Industrial Revolution. That's it. And that's why I showed you guys earlier the population and how much of we can't even, you could put all of us on the continent of the United States and we can all still live out in a decent, fair amount of space. Yet, they don't want to talk about the data and the things that's been collected. You haven't been collecting data long enough to actually make these scientific conclusions. It still has to it's all theoretical. And that's what they really don't talk about, is that it's all theoretical. Like I said, it goes without saying. Of course, you want to put everything into fossil fuels. Of course, you want to use natural resources, natural gas. You always want to diversify. You never want to put all your eggs in one basket. Yet, they're sitting there telling you, because you're driving your car and stuff and you want to do this and you want to do that, you're poisoning the earth. You're going to destroy us in greenhouse gas effects. It's funny how at all the different things, the data that they're collecting and stuff, and all different things that can affect the atmosphere or whatnot, greenhouse gases is the biggest one, but it's also the only thing that humans can contribute to. But it's just one of other things as well. So in one instance, we're not really that significant of a species that we don't even need to take up that much land mass on the planet. Well, in another instance, we're so significant of a species that since the Industrial Revolution and all our burning of coal and fossil fuels, we're somehow managing enough, and we're doing enough to affect the whole entire planet. Just think about that.
And there were 4 key groups of scientists working at the time. Those looking at global average temperatures, those looking at geology, those looking at aerosols, and those studying the so-called greenhouse gases. And these different groups of scientists came to some shocking conclusions. The first reconstruction...
Shocking conclusions, even though it's all theoretical, because their scope of data collection is limited.
Of global average temperatures to show a cooling trend was published in 1963 by John Murray Mitchell. What he did was take measurements from over 200 different measuring stations run by the World Meteorological Organization and combine them into a global average.
For those of you on the audio version of the podcast, we was talking about the data collected in 1963. It says not, it came up on the YouTube video saying it's not digitized anywhere. So you can't even look it up on the internet to find it. Even though the Library of Congress has a catalog of everything, with all the books and stuff, you go to their website and find out all the books and the ISBN numbers that are in the Library of Congress. Majority of things have been digitized since the internet really started to take off in the late 1990s, early 2000s. But this information right here is not digitized anywhere.
What he found was that from the start of the record, about 1880, running up till about 1940, the world had warmed slightly. And then from 1940 up until the time of publication, in 63, the world had cooled. By the time the
So obviously for those on audio version, I highly suggest you, if you can, go watch the YouTube or Odyssey version of it. And Odyssey has a pop-out window too. YouTube doesn't. Wait, does Odyssey have? I believe Odyssey has a pop-out window. It does on the desktop version. Whatever, anyways. It's showing the same thing, and you heard him say it anyways. 1880. 1880. So if you're only collecting data from 1880, does that sound like it makes sense? How can you only start collecting data from 1880? Or excuse me, how can you only reference data from 1880? It's a small scale. It's a small scope, rather, of which you're going to collect information and then say, oh yeah, human beings are destroying everything. Can you actually use that? Can you actually say that? Does that even sound scientific? That science was based on logic and reasoning, and then testing those things based on data and control experiments or controlled or randomized control experiments, where you have your different variables and whatever. Yet they're like, ah, yeah, fuck it. We'll just take shit back from 1880 when we start recording, and then we'll go along with it. And this is America we're talking about.
70s rocked up, it was widely accepted that the world had cooled since about 1940. And when new satellite observations came out, this was backed up because ice was growing all over the northern hemisphere. At the same time, geologists were realizing that the Earth had gone through periods of extraordinary climate change in the past. Up until the mid-20th century, the working theory of geologists was that there have been a few short ice ages in the recent past, with
up until the 20th century, short ice ages in the recent past. Short ice ages in the recent past. And we're just going to ignore that. Cool. Because it's my vehicle and me using gas. Meanwhile, people in the snowstorm in Texas and stuff really wish they had some fucking gas right now.
Long warm periods between them. But work by scientists like Wallace Brooker and Cesare Emiliani showed that actually the past contained long periods of the Earth being covered by ice sheets, with relatively short interglacials taking place between these periods. Further, these ice ages were caused by slight variations in the Earth's orbit around the Sun, as described mathematically by Serbian scientist Milutin Milankovic.
Oh, so you mean the Sun actually has an effect on whether or not planet Earth is in an ice age or warming age? You mean the sun, that big ass thing in the sky you see every day, so enormous that you can't even comprehend the size of it, has a bigger, has an effect on the Earth. Meanwhile, you, the tiny little individual being in this cosmic world, or this cosmic simulation we call the universe, you and almost, 8 billion others little yous walking around, you guys are so powerful that you can say, fuck it, we can change the planet just as easy as this. Just as easy as the Earth's rotation, the Earth's orbit rather, around the sun. You have more of an impact, or almost the same impact, on the Earth being hot or cold that the sun has. It sounds crazy when I say it, right? But yet, that's exactly what they're talking about. But it sounds crazy if I say it.
His theory, published back in 1930, was originally discredited because it just didn't match with the record of past climate. But with the discovery of these extended ice ages, it became clear that he was right all along. A group of scientists led by James Hayes, using Milankovic's mathematics, predicted that the long-term trend over the next several thousand years is towards extensive northern hemisphere glaciation. Or, in other words, that we were due to slip into a new ice age at some point in the next several thousand years. So one group of scientists had found that the Earth had been cooling for several decades, and another group of scientists had found that the Earth was due to enter a new ice age. But things got really tasty when we added humans into the mix. The third group, the scientists studying
Where we add humans into the mix. Once again, human ego, look how effective we are. Look how awesome we are, that we have such an effect on things that have been happening long before we even existed. But don't worry, now that humans are reigning superior on planet Earth, yeah, that's right, we humans, we taking over this shit. Oh, fuck this, we're gonna cool the planet down. Fuck this, we'll heat this bitch up. We'll do whatever we want to because of aerosols and greenhouse gas effects.
aerosols, those are these small little particles like soot or dust or salt, found that human economic activity had increased the amount of aerosols in the atmosphere. And crucially, that the more aerosols there are in the atmosphere, less of the sun's radiation is reaching the surface. Or, in other words, human economic activity, increasing the number of aerosols in the atmosphere, had cooled the Earth. And that anthropogenic cooling might be...
Like I said, context. Because when you hear this, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it's not put into context, meaning, if, like I said, for those on the audio version, they just showed a picture of like a power plant, probably a nuclear power plant, putting aerosols into that Earth's atmosphere. But once again, half of the human population lives in cities, the other one doesn't. And we're not talking about your rural areas out in humbug nowhere, Western Kentucky, or West Kentucky. Is there West Kentucky? West Virginia, rather. Man, I don't think I live in the United States. Apparently, I failed geography. But then you have people, live in those areas. Then you have people living in tribes in Australia, which you talked about on, I think it was episode 82, 81, or Black History Month, and what really black people are, and they're all over around the world and stuff like that. So, once again, in context, is it really that much of us to even produce enough aerosols, our greenhouse, our carbon-2 emissions, or carbon dioxide emissions, to actually make an effect on something that's way beyond us? How powerful is the sun? The sun is so powerful, you can't even look directly into the sun. You cannot look directly into the sun for a long period of time. That's how powerful the sun rays are. And guess what? They're gonna, I believe this video goes on to talk about solar flares, as far as extra amounts of solar radiation hitting the planet. Because I remember at one point in time, we got to worry about sun flares, or sunspots, and solar flares. And that, a solar flare can knock out the electromagnetic sphere around the Earth and stuff, and all these other different things. So what is it? And the solar flare stuff so hot that it can do all these different things. So much radiation hits us, but yet the aerosol particles, don't worry, we put enough of those, so it's affecting the planet. It's not getting as hot. Or oh man, I'm trying to wrap my head around all this, because I put it into context with the other information that I hear from scientists as well. This is all from their website, their government websites, their scientific data and all of that stuff, their mainstream stuff. But there's so many holes in the mainstream narrative that they're talking about.
Enough to push the Earth into its next predicted ice age. It's a smoking gun. Global cooling, it's gonna happen. Certainly how the press at the time reported this. So why did scientists stop with the global cooling narrative? In this graph, you can see the number of papers published on the subject of global cooling in total over the 60s and 70s, steadily increasing but plateauing at the end of the 70s. No more papers were being published on the subject. But why? Well, let's plot on the same graph the total number of papers published on the subject of global warming, so the heating of the planet by greenhouse gases. There was not a single year in the 1960s, 70s, or any decade since in which global cooling was the prevailing theory in the scientific community. So why did scientists change their mind and flip from global cooling to global warming? Well, they didn't. Global warming has always been the consensus in the scientific community when you measure the peer-reviewed publications. This idea of a big global cooling...
Oh man, I'm gonna go back. Listen to what he says.
Scare of the 1970s, or any decade since, in which global cooling was the prevailing theory in the scientific community. So why did scientists change their mind and flip from global cooling to global warming? Well, they didn't. Global warming has always been the consensus in the scientific community.
Even though they've only been using recorded temperatures from 1880, but global warming has always been the consensus in the scientific community. Notice how they say scientists. That's a generic term. That's a fucking generic term. Oh, the science or scientists. Well, who? Somebody, give me a name. How many actual scientists are in the world? Hey, you never really hear that either for as far as context. They tell you the scientific community. Well, who are they? Where are they at? Where are all the scientists? Can I put all the scientists in one room? I don't know. Can you get them all on a live stream? Can we sit down and talk to them? How many are there? Is there a lot? Do they fill up a football stadium? Are there enough scientists in the world to fill up a football stadium that are talking about global temperatures, global warming, greenhouse gas effects, geology, all different things that he just said? Where are these scientists at? What's their names? Can we ask them questions? In fact, can they explain the shit to us? Why is that?
When you measure the peer-reviewed publications. This idea of a big global cooling scare of the 1970s and that scientists changed their mind is a myth. It's simply not supported by the data.
So how do I not, if that's a myth then, how do I not know that it's a myth now? Because the data now is correct. How do I not know that they didn't just switch the data around? Because it's those scientists, you know, those nameless generic scientists and the data in the scientific community that you can't pinpoint on a map, can't tell me exactly where they're at. I can't go knock on the door and ask them questions, can't put a microphone in their mouth and do an interview. But don't worry, Dr. Fauci is around somewhere.
Some scientists were concerned about the idea of the Earth entering into a new ice age for the exact reasons that I just outlined. And so would you. If presented with only that information, you would draw the same conclusion logically. However, those scientists concerned about global cooling were not considering the elephant in the room, the topic of the fourth research group: greenhouse gases.
Humans.
After an aerosol-induced ice age was first posited in that letter to President Nixon and in a scientific paper by Russell and Schneider in 1971, subsequent publications, including some by those original authors, found that the hypothesis had overestimated how much cooling aerosols would produce.
Overestimated.
And at the same time had underestimated how much warming greenhouse gas emissions like carbon dioxide.
So they fucked up. They overestimated cooling by aerosols and underestimated heating by greenhouse gas effects. So they fucked up. It's hard to even keep track with all this stuff because it's like, wait, what? So in the 70s, it was aerosols and they were going to cool the planet and it was worried about global cooling. And now it's greenhouse gas effect because of human beings. Going back 40 something years. You tell me in 40 years, they didn't get it wrong. They just weren't paying attention to the data. But then you said they overestimated, so they got it wrong because they paid attention to the wrong data. Why does this sound confusing? Is that by design? Because it sounds like it's by design.
Would produce. Because the more carbon dioxide that humans put into the atmosphere, the more heat is trapped, causing warming. And the whole thing becomes a question of balance. Of all of these factors, some of them negative, producing cooling, like aerosols, and some of them positive, producing warming, like carbon dioxide, what is the net total effect on the world's climate?
Since the 1970s, research...
Now, I wanted to show that part, which I thought was interesting, because it just shows you how it's all over the place. And that was pretty much your mainstream narrative and stuff. Even though it talked about how it was kind of a global cooling, and geology discovers that the planet is going through a climate change, and that's a kind of a cyclic nature of it. There's another video from Nova PBS official from PBS.
This is our climate. What do I mean? Most of us have heard of the ice ages from movies. Everybody down! 20,000 years ago, places like New York City were covered in ice. But that wasn't the only time. There were a bunch of ice ages, going back millions of years. And here's the crazy part. By looking at cores of mud from the bottom of the ocean, we can tell that these ice ages actually came and went on a schedule, like clockwork. In fact, the entire world got hotter and colder with the ice ages. So what caused these huge swings in Earth's climate? Actually, it was clockwork, corresponding to slight shifts in Earth's orbit, now called Milankovitch cycles after the...
You know, the Earth's orbit that they tell you in school, which is inaccurate. That's more of a type of spherical orbit instead of your little planetary system you probably made in elementary school or something, especially if you're listening in America. It's not even the same orbit. They're just talking, man. They just be talking.
European scientists who started to figure this out. We know that the gravitational pull of the sun, moon, and other planets makes the Earth's axis wobble like a top on a cycle of about 20,000 years.
Wait a minute. Makes the Earth axis wobble like a top. I don't know, like one of those little spinner toys, whatever. Every about 20,000 years. What does that remind me of? Mayan calendar? Wasn't it like a calendar depicting, I think it was about 20,000, 26,000 years, something like that? Well, the Mayan calendar was actually just calculating different ice ages. No. Nah, that can't be it, right? That can't be it. I gotta be reaching. I hope I'm reaching. Because the Mayan calendar, for some reason, it was calculating something. I gotta be reaching. I have to be reaching.
The tilt of the Earth also shifts about every 40,000 years. And the shape of Earth's orbit around the sun goes from more circular to more like an oval on a schedule of about 100,000 years. All of these changes affect how heat from the sun warms the northern hemisphere where ice sheets can grow. So, the same types of planetary movements that create our days, weeks, and years actually seem to also create something like superseasons, our climate. But that's only part of the story. Because with the orbital cycles, when the northern hemisphere warms, the whole planet warms. And when the northern hemisphere cools, the whole planet cools. Changes in Earth's position set the tempo of the climate clock, but they don't explain why the shifts in temperature are so extreme and why they're global.
Now, you can feel it, right? You can hear it, right? It's gonna be the twist because you're just waiting like, where's the part where human beings is fucking it all up? You're just waiting. And you kind of hear it. This is where it kind of turns. It was like, it doesn't explain why it's so extreme. What do you mean it doesn't explain why it's so extreme? That's how things happen. Climax, it gets extreme and then it goes to a certain point. That's when you talk about cycles, it goes from swinging from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. You get that point of climax, it gets extreme, and then bam. And then it goes again.
Going from times when New York City could be covered in a thick layer of ice to times like today, when it hits 100+ in summer. So what else is going on here? A major clue came when scientists extracted cores of ice from Antarctica, dating back hundreds of thousands of years. And inside of them were trapped little air bubbles of ancient atmosphere. They revealed the amounts of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere going back 800,000 years. Remarkably, the rhythm of this record matches that of the ice ages recorded in the ocean.
So in the video, it's showing you how the CO2 emissions matches up with the rhythm, the clockwork schedule of the ice ages.
Almost perfectly. We know that CO2 is a greenhouse gas, a gas that traps heat on the planet. So this could explain those huge global shifts. But where did the CO2 come from? Why would gas in our atmosphere match the tilt and wobble of Earth? This is where that can of soda comes in.
Just shake up a can of soda, and of course it explodes.
These are carbon dioxide bubbles, now visible because I just depressurized the can of soda. One theory is that as the ice sheets melt, they release pressure on the world's volcanoes, setting them off like a freshly opened can of soda. But that can only account a little bit for what was going on. Another theory is that the oceans act like a sea of soda. How do I get a ton of bubbles to...
Notice how they just keep saying theory. Another theory, theories that you don't fucking hear in school, that no one's teaching you, but yet PBS Nova is telling you all these different theories. Wow, that's insane, right? Wait a minute. Theories, not facts. So everything is theoretical, meaning we're making this shit up as we go.
come out? By stirring it up. The same thing happens with the world's oceans. They also contain carbon dioxide. And our planet, the blue marble, is 70% ocean. Now, even though a can of seawater doesn't have quite as much carbon dioxide as a can of soda, that's still a lot of carbon dioxide in all of the world's oceans. And when ice sheets start to grow, that changes everything. The wind patterns change, which shifts ocean currents, and that changes how the ocean mixes. Scientists believe that the biggest reason CO2 tracked the orbital cycles is because when the planet warmed just a touch, that enhanced ocean mixing. And then just like our stirred soda, the oceans lost some of their fizz to the atmosphere. And more CO2 in the atmosphere meant more heat trapped on the planet. But today there's another source of carbon dioxide. Every year, humans dump over...
Because humans. See how she alluded to it? See how she set it all up? The video is only 5 minutes long, 5 minutes, 6 seconds long to be exact. So humans are emitting more CO2 than volcanoes and the CO2 that's been trapped in ice for such a long period of time. But don't worry, when you drive your car and our nuclear power plants and our fossil fuels, we're doing so much more danger to the environment. Like I said, I'm all for natural resources, renewable energies. I'm all for all those things. I'm also all for, hey, you need to balance it out. You need everything in balance. You can't go too much on one side and too much on the other. And the only thing with climate change is they only talk, or not only, but what comes around to it is carbon tax. And you know what tax is? Stealing your fucking money. Oh, we got to have carbon tax emissions. We got to tax the rich for carbon and stuff like that. And all these other different things. Oh, so you're just going to take people's fucking money, huh? You're just going to take people's fucking money for renewable energies, but you can't always use those renewable energies. It's all about balance. You don't need too much of one thing and don't do too much of another thing. Just find somewhere in the middle. And we can find the middle ground, we will be okay. But we just love to go from one extreme to the other extreme because it's not about science, it's not about humanity, it's not about anything. It's about people feeling good about themselves. It's about people feeling like, oh, look at me, look how great I am. And it's about look at the human species. Look at what we do. It's all ego. That's all it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how we are. But also understand, you gotta do your part too as well. You don't want to do certain things. You want to do too much or put too much pollution in the air. I don't like littering. I don't like throwing trash out the door of my car, which seems to be a random thing around my house. I don't like doing stuff like that. I don't like polluting the earth. I don't like throwing things in, you find a place to recycle or throw the trash away. Also, you throw the trash away, guess what? It goes to a landfill and they burn that shit. But we're not talking about burning trash, are we? We're talking about power plants.
30 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. That's well over 50 times the amount that comes from volcanoes. As a result, we're warming the planet 10 times faster than anything we've ever seen before. The tight link between the orbital cycles and the
10 times faster than we ever seen before. What are you talking about? How can you even make that statement than we ever seen before? When we've only been recording this shit for so long. Industrial Revolution only been around since the 1800s. So once again, context. How can you say that when we haven't actually really been recording this shit for that long? As far as your temperatures and all those things. And yeah, using geology and stuff like that. But the geology is saying that it's just on a cycle. She just sat there and said the CO2 emissions matches up perfectly with the ice age. The rise and fall of ice ages throughout the planet's history. Using geology, using the aerosol air bubbles trapped in the water and in the ice or whatever in Antarctica. You know, the place that everybody in the country seems to unite and go to, and no one fights over none of that stuff, but at the same time, you can't really go there yourself as a regular person. Makes you also wonder, what the fuck is in Antarctica? Now, a little breadcrumb for a future episode.
The atmosphere is gone. We've actually broken the climate clock.
I'm sorry. Just look at our face. We actually broken the climate clock. Once again, I'm all for humans not destroying the earth. I don't think we should put shit where it shouldn't be. I think we should find a responsible, the best possible way to remove trash and not pollute the atmosphere. I'm all for it. But I'm also for not bullshitting people either. Don't bullshit me, man. Don't sit here and bullshit me. Because you want me to drive your green cars? I already want a green car. I already want a Tesla. Because I don't like fucking getting gas. Not because I'm trying to save the earth, but I hate fucking going to the gas station, damn it. If I could charge the car up at my house, that increases to my fucking laziness. I hate going to gas station. I just hate it. I hate going there. If I could charge my house, I can charge my car at my house, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. Hell, if you give me a gas station at my house, I'll be like, well, fuck it. Whatever is convenient for me, you goddamn right. Because that's what it's about, right? That's what the technology is there for. Why can't we have a balance? Because when you have situations like a winter storm in the United States, guess what? Where's your renewable energy resources? Where's your wind turbines, your solar panels? There's nothing you can do about it. You have to find another way to heat your house. But no, don't worry about that. Let's not talk about that. But oh my God, that was. I want to show you guys one more video. This is from Sky News Australia. And hopefully it'll restart.
In 5 seconds, you can skip this ad.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Let's see. Restart this video from the beginning. All right, here we go.
Now, Cardiff University has released a study on ice ages, and it claims that icebergs melting in...
I just now realized, I seen it on the video earlier I was watching it while I was at the gym. It's somebody in the comment section said, it's funny how when it's a video like this denouncing climate change, the audio is low. But when it's something else, the audio is loud. Which is, it was dead spot on because I didn't realize it until now. And I think I was reading the captions. I didn't have my headphones at the gym, so I was just reading the captions. But yeah, this audio comes in super low. And it's Sky News Australia. But when it's Nova PBS, that shit was so loud, I had to turn it down.
Antarctic may actually trigger a reaction that plunges the Earth into an ice age. But I thought alarmists were telling us that our approach to climate was leading us into believing we're the direct cause of global warming and we're all going to boil. Well, here to set the record straight is geology, the cause of global warming.
We'll read that. So it's from Daily Mail Australia. It says from Cardiff University, melting icebergs in the Antarctic could trigger a chain reaction that plunges Earth into a new ice age, scientists warn.
And we're all going to boil. Well, here to set the record straight is geologist and earth scientist Ian Plimer. Ian, it's wonderful to have you on the show, and welcome back to Sky News.
Geologist and earth scientist. Oh, look, it's a scientist. It's a scientist. Granted, I guess the other videos I showed you wasn't like a news media outlet provocation and stuff, and they referenced a few scientists in the past. But here's one today in the present, and he's a geologist and earth scientist. Earth scientist. Huh. Interesting.
Before I get into this this malarkey about the climate change wars and who's right, I want to ask you how you are. You've been fighting the biggest battle of your life over the last 12 or so months, and how you're coming out the other side.
Well, I'm upright, I'm biped, I'm alive. I've been battling cancer for most of last year, and it never goes away, but we've got it under control, and it's a very interesting experience to go through. You know who your friends are, and my Sky friends contacted me quite often. You were one of them, Rita Panahi, Rowan Dean, Andrew Bolt, all checking in to see that I'm still alive and still fighting and still going to cause trouble. So it is an interesting and sobering experience to have, and I'll have to have maintenance all of my life, but that's the same with any machine. You've got to maintain it and give it a grease and oil every now and then.
And Ian, you are a machine. I tell you, you've dismantled so much of the alarmist rhetoric in respect to climate change and all the nonsense. Your books are legendary for exposing the hypocrisy of them, and so we need you up and willing to fight, keep going. But let's go to this latest study. It reminded me of, I think, a 1971 Time magazine cover warning of a global ice age was impending and we were all going to be destroyed by an ice age. Then we were told we're going to cook, and now we're saying the ice age is coming again. What's going on?
Well, what's going on are cycles. It's normal to have cycles of climate. We are getting towards the end of a warm period. The peak of the warmth was about 5,000 years ago, and we are heading for the next inevitable ice age. Now, I know it will be on a Tuesday. I just can't tell you which Tuesday. But climates are cyclical, and just because you live on planet Earth doesn't mean that you are controlling major planetary systems. For you to think that you can actually control what's happening on the planet means you to have an ego incommensurate with your knowledge.
But Ian, you're a geologist. You deal in timelines that are far greater and longer than the Bureau of Meteorology. The temperatures that we've had in recent years, are they unprecedented in history, or are they normal? Are carbon dioxide concentrations higher or lower than they have been?
We've had 6 major ice ages, during which we've had glaciations, and that's when the ice expands, and warmer periods when the ice retreats. All of that happened before humans were on planet Earth, and every single major ice age started when we had more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere than now. To use the word unprecedented shows that you've expunged history and geology from your knowledge. And to use the word climate emergency indicates that you have absolutely no knowledge about the past. You can talk about things being in.
The hell was that? It just, the screen just blacked out and then came back for no fucking reason. That was weird. God damn it. Fucking YouTube.
Unprecedented or an emergency if you totally get rid of the past. And by having at least 40 years of dumbing down our education system and having people now not taught to be critical and analytical in their thinking, not taught history, not taught planetary history, you can get away with anything. And that's what the climate alarmists are doing. And the Bureau of Meteorology is doing exactly that by using words like unprecedented. You've only got to go to their own records to show that they're telling porky pies.
Now, this is in Australia. Remember that. This is in Australia. Obviously, I live in America. Yet, the same rhetoric is in America. Not rhetoric. That's the wrong word. Whatever. The same message, the same narrative is in America. Isn't that interesting? Or is rhetoric the right word? Whatever. Anyways, so I think it's funny that, like he just said, and it's some of the stuff I had already thought about. So when I actually, and I don't even think I watched all of it, but I was, like I said, I was reading some of it, and I was like, oh, this is what I was talking about. Because it's just real critical thinking. Like, just sit down and think about this stuff. Because when I learned other things, and the stuff I'm talking about I learned, obviously it wasn't in school. Which makes you wonder what the fucking point of school, right? Indoctrination. So, like you said, dumbing down. Because I'm like, if there's my first thought was when I was a kid, if there was an ice age at one point in time, then that means odds are it'll happen again. This is simple logic reasoning, right?
Well, why wouldn't we be surprised that as the education system has been dumbing down the teaching of classical studies and sciences, they're also hijacking the language, as you rightly point out, that unprecedented means it hasn't happened in the last 20 years instead of it hasn't happened in the last 5 or 6,000. But for those of us who understand this and have been following it for a long time, it all seems very clear. But what about the people who are starting to question the link between humans and global warming? What are the claims, and are they right, or are they just merely overcooking it?
No one has ever shown that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming. If you think it has been shown, please give me the 5 scientific papers that show this. That question has never been answered. Show me that human emissions drive global warming. So we have started with a premise which is demonstrably wrong. It's also not helped by people having very little outdoor experience. We've had an exodus of people from country areas into cities. They live in apartments. They live in air conditioning. They live their life off a screen. They don't experience drought. They don't experience rainfall. They don't experience dust storms. So we have a city-based population that doesn't read the scientific literature, that has had no life experience, and now telling us the Chicken Little story that the sky's falling in. Well, I'm sorry, folks, there is a very, very large amount of scientific evidence out there that show that we live in exceptionally boring times, and we're just having cycles of climate come and go. Most of them are driven by that great ball of heat in the sky called the sun. And for some odd reason, that ball of heat controls temperature on the Earth. You heard it here first.
On my hair.
Wild, crazy concepts, man. Wild, crazy concepts, right? Like you just said, it's preposterous almost in a sense, as far as the human ego. I want to keep reiterating. It doesn't mean I don't want to protect the planet. It doesn't mean I don't want to have a whole bunch of stuff in space and satellites, whatever Elon Musk wants to do out there with his so-called Starlink constellation and shit. It doesn't mean I don't want to pollute the planet. It does not mean that. It doesn't mean we all shouldn't be conscious or conscientious of as far as what we're doing, as far as things that go into the atmosphere, the pollution. It doesn't mean we don't still apply that same thought process or that same consideration. But also understand that there's things way bigger than us, that we are so insignificant that we don't even realize how insignificant we are. And it's almost disturbing that we are so insignificant, we damn near mean nothing. It's like, that's what it comes down to. We don't really mean anything. We don't really have that much of an effect. We don't take up that much of the population or take up that much of the space on the planet. We're just one planet amongst 8 or 9 other so-called planet or planetoids orbiting the sun in our one star system, when most solar systems are binary star systems. We just happen to only have the only star or solar system with one sun, because, you know, that seems kind of odd too as well. There's so many things that are so bigger than us and affect us. We're not even talking about a gravitational pull that I believe was Jupiter that might have on us, or even Saturn. We're not talking about an asteroid belt. Oh, not asteroid belt. Yeah. Is that it? Yeah. In between, that separates the inner planets and the outer planets, you know, after Mars, and goes into your gas planets. It's fucking planets that are just gas. There's ice on Europa moons. Like, there's so many things that, how does that happen? Humans aren't there. What about the greenhouse gas effects on Venus, or I believe it's Venus or Mercury? Humans aren't there for that. And that's closer to the sun. Oh, wait, they're closer to the sun? There's so many things about space and other different things that affect the Earth that we don't really study and talk about, because they don't actually want us to know anything. Because they actually wanted us to know things, they will teach us all these things in your public education system. But see, the internet fucked up because they want us to be dumbed down with all the TikTok videos and dancing and all the sports entertainments and memes and all those other things. And those are fine. Don't get me wrong. Everything's fine in balance, moderation. Because if you're gonna find those entertainment values, then you also need to educate yourself at the same time. But it just blows my mind that here it is right there. I'm like, hey, you know, the Earth's been around a long time, bro. I don't think our small existence on the Earth, in the scope of how long it's been around, I don't think we have that much of an effect. I don't, I don't think that's a, I don't think that's a real thing. And even that's like killing off certain species. I mean, other species kill off other species all the time as well too. Like this is how it goes, man. I mean, let's say we killed off those other hominids, but don't worry, those other hominids was around for a long time as well. It's just when we talk about climate change, that's why they have the word climate change, because it's half true. The climate is changing. Period. The climate is changing. That's it. That's all. This is the end of the discussion. The climate is changing. And you can have a long scope of your so-called data taken from within the Earth that geologists have taken in the ice of Antarctica, because water, DNA, genetics passes on information, passes on data. I know. Another crazy concept I just keep throwing out there. Use your brain, man. We're all smart enough. We know these things don't sound right. But once again, like, yes, protect the Earth. Treat Mother Earth, treat Gaia well. Don't shit on where you live at and stuff, or shit in where you live at, take care of the planet. Without a doubt, take care of the planet. But don't fall for everything that's doom and gloom and stuff, man. And this is something that is always stuck with me, because I'm like, when the fuck did we all of a sudden decide to say climate change? Because I could have sworn the planet was heating. And now it's cooling? What the fuck? It's just like, hey, I remember when you said this. And now all of a sudden is this? No, man, I remember when it was something else. And now you're telling me something different because of what? Because of 10 years of data that you collected? What is 10 years in the context of the planet? Nothing. What is that, a nanosecond? 10 years is what? 10% of our life? Not even? More like 20, 30% of our life, depending on the average age is about 80 in America, more in modern society. So, what? 10 years is nothing in the planet's life. None of that shit. 10 years is nothing in the sun's life. The planet will be here long after we're gone. The planet will be here. The sun will be here. We will die off before all that. Hell. Be honest with you, we'll probably colonize the solar system before even that. Really, you want to think about it. I wonder if their goal is to colonize the solar system and go to Mars and stuff because, well, we know the planet is cooling and our infrastructures are not built nor designed to handle an ice age, which also means we'll have to all migrate towards your northern parts of Africa, Mexico, northern parts of South America, everywhere along the equator, all along the planet. Almost like when your modern humans left Africa, probably because it started to get hot. Like the man said, around 5,000 years ago. Isn't that how far back the Bible dates to? But see, if you don't reach out to these different ranges or these different genres or spectrums of information, you're not looking into geology, history, archaeology. If you're not paying attention to all these different things, you won't be able to see the bigger scope of the perspective. You won't be able to connect the dots. And that's why, especially now when I do a live stream and I have the video replay, all I'm doing is showing you different articles, because this is what I actually sit here. I'll see something like that, like climate change. And I'm like, wait a minute, I remember this. And then I don't like being lied to. So then I start digging, because I'm like, well, hold on now, I remember this. Let me find it. And then obviously you're trying to search different things, and the algorithms, no matter what search engine you use, you got to search, put in the correct words and put it a certain way. I type in climate conspiracy theories, and you get a whole bunch of shit that's nothing about what you want to talk about. So I was like, well, nah, let me find the right words to type in. And I was like, well, fuck it, just climate change. Because that's what it is. It's climate change. It's climate change. You and I have nothing to do with it other than feel the effects of Mother Earth, the sun, the solar system, the universe, the Milky Way galaxy. We're just here on this journey, going along, thinking we're significant, but we're insignificant. But the only thing that is significant is you. You are significant. Your life is significant. You figure out what to do on a daily basis. But in the grand scheme of things, are we significant as a species? Who knows? Doesn't really seem that way. And sometimes that hurts people because they don't want to think of it that way. Doesn't bother me because I'm like, whatever, I'll focus on what I can control. And the rest, whatever, I'll learn along the way. It is what it is. I'll be back on tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll upload the podcast audio version and the video version on YouTube and Odyssey. Check out my links as far as my social media and podcast links on my website, Damian Jackson 22, DamienJackson 22.com. I'm on Twitter, Telegram, all the different things. Check me out over there. I'll definitely be back on tomorrow. And like I said, I don't think I'm going to do Thursday or Friday. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do Thursday or Friday. So tomorrow will probably be my last show for the week. I still might do some videos, depending on what news things I see. Yeah. So I'll be back on tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out my website, blog site, whatever. Follow my social media accounts so you'll know when the podcast is being uploaded. And until tomorrow, right? 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You see, let me stop. I don't know how to fucking end this, so I'm just going to end it. So until next time.